Hello, JCPS. Welcome to another edition of JCPS Backpack Live. I am here at a Google Classroom for Principals training with awesome principals like these. There's Heather and Desiree. Desiree's the principal at McFerrin Elementary, and she's going to be coming on an upcoming show to talk about what, Desiree?
Google Classroom, utilizing Google Classroom at your school.
That's right, from a principal purview.
Yes.
So we're going to let them get back to work, but I just wanted to give a shout out to all of these awesome principals who are here working hard. Principals, you want to give a shout out, give yourselves a round of applause, working hard, learning how to use Google Classroom. So thank you. So lots of good stuff going on here today. As more and more of our JCPS educators pursue digital leadership as part of our digital transformation. So as part of that digital transformation, today we have our backpack tech leader on the show. So let me introduce to you today Mrs. Stefanei Mills, who is the behind-the-scenes backpack leader for our JCPS Backpack Initiative. Stefanei, I understand you're going to be taking us through some frequently asked questions today.
That's what we're going to do today. We published this out to STCs, and I just want to make sure that everybody's seeing this stuff so we know where to go when we have questions or it's not working quite right. So.
All right, Stefanei. So without further ado, if you would like to screen share and show us some of those frequently asked questions on the tech side of the JCPS Backpack.
Yeah, so do you want me to share the slide out that I worked on?
Sure, that sounds great. Whatever you have to share.
All right, can you see my screen now, Heather?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's go through and take a look. So I wanted to get some yays in there because sometimes when things aren't working right, it seems like it's all about what's not working, but we want to talk about what is working. So teachers are loving the automatic provisioning of classrooms. We've gotten a lot of good feedback, and I have some graphs to actually show what our usage is now compared to like 6 months ago. So people are in there using classrooms that the automatic provisioning, they're loving it. And that's part of Backpack, right? So we have to have that Google Classroom roster in place for teachers to be able to see the students' backpack and be able to help them artifact. Teachers are excited about using mobile devices, classrooms for Backpack. Google Translate feature was built into Backpack. And that's a next slide that I'm going to show you guys. Teachers are excited about the student digital portfolios and the inherent benefits. What that means is it's a new way to educate, and it's a new way to learn, and a new way to track progress for a student, right? And those are all really awesome things. So hearing a lot of excitement around that. We're seeing thousands of Chromebooks being utilized across JCPS. I also have a graph for that so that you guys can see our Chromebook usage is just phenomenal. And most of all, we're seeing teachers use our G Suite. G Suite meaning docs, slides, sheets, those tools that we have into our G Suite. And so those are all big yays for us. One of our yays that I mentioned is the Google Translate feature in JCPS Backpack. If you're logged into the Backpack home screen, the little globe, click on that. And those are the translation features that we have built in there. And it's Google Translate. And so, be patient with it. Some of us that are other language speakers know that it's not always a perfect translation. It's usually a literal translation, but that feature is there for our kiddos who need to use that. I hope you guys can see this. So this is our usage of Chrome devices. You can see back March 16th of last school year where we were, and we were kind of at this steady. Of course, that's summer that you can see in July when nobody was around. There was a little bit of Chromebook usage, but look at this. We've really grown with our Chromebook usage in the Backpack Initiative. So we're hovering right around, 17,000 Chromebooks active daily, okay? So that's huge for us. Another yay is the usage of G Suite. We don't use Gmail in our district, but Drive, Calendar, Google Plus, that's not used on our domain, but it's something that we could utilize in the future. And the usage of Classroom. You can see March 16th of last school year. Okay, there we had a break, right? You can see that. And then kind of that leveling off. And take a look at this. We've really grown, and these are active classrooms. These are classrooms that are being utilized, being logged into, assignments. This is huge. So just to look at that growth and the digital trend is pretty amazing. So with all of those yays, we've got some nays, and that's why I'm here. We had a little bit of a rough start with the classroom provisioning for Google Classroom. Mostly due at the beginning of the year, and we're going to see this at term changes, due to any entry errors in IC rosters not populated. To have a provisioned Google Classroom, you have to be the teacher, the primary teacher of record. You have to have a course ID attached to you, and you have to have a populated roster. You also have to have a JCPS email address on your Infinite Campus account. We were seeing several errors come through because it was the beginning of the year, teachers were getting hired in, school staff was putting a Gmail address in there. That won't work. We need the JCPS teacher email address to be in that email address slot in Infinite Campus. So having worked through a lot of those issues, we're seeing that provisioning is going really well. We ran into the single sign-on, SSO single sign-on, the logging in and logging out. Logging in with the single sign-on, we've resolved a lot of that by some settings that we made in our Google domain side. And we also worked together with infrastructure here to get a piece of that screen where you could choose yes or no to cache your credentials. That's gone. So that's going to help with the cache credentials on the logging out. We now have a log out button in the top right-hand corner of our backpack home screen. So logging out there and logging out of Drive, we'll log that user out. Those were some big issues and hurdles that we've seen. Still working on logging out of Drive, which is where Google Backpack Digital Backpack lives, is in Google Drive. Leanne at Computer Education Support has made a video, and that, what it teaches you is how to clear out those browsing credentials and the history on iPads. We don't have a super foolproof resolution to that, but we're working on it. Backpack, not waffle, the path to waffling success. So that's something I'm going to walk through on some of the slides that I've got. But that's been a major ticket creation, I would say, we're not saying backpack. Well, there are steps to actually see it. You can't just log into Chrome. You actually have to be in our G Suite to see that marketplace app for JCPS. And folders not launching, errors. So what that means, let me go back. We've had several tickets on folders not launching. Students will log in, create folders for their backpack, and it'll just spin and spin and spin. Let's remember that this is all cloud-based, and what this is built on is called an API. So it's the backpack app, but it's built on an API. An API makes calls on the internet, and when we get lots of those going on a busy network, we can have some glitches like that. So what we want to do is refresh, and I always say, refresh 3 times, then me. Okay, so refresh 3 times, then put a ticket in. Refresh 3 times, then ask a partner, ask somebody, because it is web-based. So we need to make sure that we're refreshing that browser. And a lot of times I've seen it resolve the issue 100% of the time if we're doing a refresh. Confusion on Google Classroom and the usage of Google Classroom and how rosters work and some of those things, seeing that happen. Remember, there are cohort trainings for level 1 educator. So make sure you're reaching out to find that information. We can post a link to that, but definitely do the training for that level 1 educator, so that you can be familiar with the usage of Classroom and Docs and, you know, the G Suite in general. So those are our nays. And there are things that we're working through. There are always bumps in the road when you do something new. So we're working through all of that. But here are a few things to try. The backpack isn't showing in the waffle. Log into the Chrome browser. So remember, Chrome is our preferred browser for the backpack because it is built on Google Framework. It's a Google API, right? So we always want to be using Chrome. And if you're at home, you know, download the Chrome browser. You can use the Chrome browser on a Windows machine. You can use it on an iPad. And of course, a Chromebook is by default the Chrome browser. So log into the Chrome browser, then go to your waffle. And the waffle is that little 9-square grid at the top right-hand corner. Click on Drive. Once you've clicked on Drive, you'll see the screen refresh. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to see JCPS and your little avatar, your picture or the initials of your name or whatever you've added to personalize your account. Once you see that JCPS next to you, now you know that you're in our domain, in our G Suite domain. Now you click the waffle, more, and under Marketplace Apps is the backpack. That's been a confusion. And so those are the steps to follow to get to the backpack in the waffle. You can also always go to jcps.me/backpack and it'll take you to that backpack home screen. All right, I'm a student. I clicked create folders and it's just spinning or I got an error. When in doubt, refresh the browser. Refresh the browser, refresh the browser. I can't say it, refresh. I'm saying refresh is your friend. So those are actually the words that I send out to some of the people who are asking for help. Refresh is your friend. You know, with anything that's, and you experience that. You might experience buffering when you're watching, you know, streaming TV. It's somewhat the same concept. You're doing a lot of call outs for that data, right? A new student to my classroom isn't showing up on my Google Classroom or backpack roster. Give it 48 hours. So we have a lot of students there's a lot of student movement in our district. And so you're going to get a new student. They're not going to show up the same day that they show up in your classroom. It'll be the next day or possibly the day after, depending on when that information is changed in Infinite Campus. And we pull the data. We have to go behind the scenes, pull that data from campus, run it through an application called Little Sis, which then generates those Google Classrooms. So give it some time. It's not an automatic. It does take a little bit of time. With that said, some questions have been coming in. It's the same question, really. You know, I still have kids on my roster who aren't my class anymore. So they were removed from the class or they moved out of the school, whatever. We aren't removing students so that that we can preserve that integrity of their work so that it's still there. So we're only adding students. But if a teacher says, well, we didn't really do anything, I'm going to, I'd like to remove the student, the teacher can manually remove the student. And that shouldn't be a problem if the teacher sees that data won't be needed in the future. And you're not removing their backpack by removing them from the Google Classroom. You're just removing them from your roster. All right. So use another issue that we're seeing when I talked about the logging in and logging out and the single sign-on, and a lot of teachers have seen this. A lot of lab folks, STCs are talking about this. A student will log in or appear to try to be logging in to Drive to get to the backpack. And what's happening is you're seeing the last student who was sitting at that workstation. The easiest way to resolve that is to use individual student credentials to log into a workstation or a Chromebook, okay? I know that's difficult for the K2s and, but I just saw on Twitter last week, there was a kindergartner who was able to log in. So, let's work with them and definitely support them to try to log in. Understandable that we're using some, generic accounts to log in at the elementary level. Sometimes, my next slide will show it, incognito mode will be something that you want to use. And that you can access incognito mode by going to the top right-hand corner, the 3 dots, the new incognito window. And incognito mode should, and I say should, not catch credentials, but sometimes it does. So that's not perfect either. The absolute perfect solution would be for everyone to log in with their own credentials from the very start, from the very first login screen to the workstation itself. All right, so let's check out the backpack FAQ. And everybody at JCPS has, everybody with a JCPS account has access to this, okay? So a few things to try. We went through that. Provisioned Google Classroom troubleshooting. So I can't create a Google Classroom. If you are certified or classified staff at JCPS, you can create a classroom. You would do that by logging into Google Classroom and going to the little plus sign at the top of the screen and say create a class. If you cannot, and you are a certified or classified staff member, submit a ticket online, okay? And we'll have to take a look at that. And I'll show you those reporting issue links at the very end of our presentation here. I can't see any classrooms. Other teachers have them. That's back to there's probably an Infinite Campus record issue. Are you a teacher that you're the primary teacher of record, you have course IDs, you have populated rosters. If it's yes to all of that and your email address is correct in Infinite Campus, then submit a ticket. But check those things first because those are the main issues I'm seeing. I'm still seeing students in Google Classroom who are not in my class anymore. That's right. We don't remove them. We only add them. You can manually remove them if you wish to. I want to change the name of my synced Google Classroom. Will I break it? Good news. You can do this. And I'm seeing a lot of those. So when I go into Little Sis, which is the application I use to provision those classrooms, now I'm seeing all sorts of names that people are naming there. I think it was Miss Gardner's Guppies. If she listens to this, she'll probably not be super happy with me, but it was kind of funny because, you know, elementary student classroom teachers are trying to make it usable for their students. And I think that's great. And I can see those. And no, that doesn't break anything because I use an alias behind the scenes that you don't see that that codes that classroom. So it is perfectly fine to rename your classroom. Vacant teacher positions. That's something that needs to be worked through, you know, at your school level as far as how you're going to handle that. But all certified and classified can create a classroom. So you may need to manually create a classroom and manually add rosters if you want to get into those kiddos' backpacks. If, you know, you have a vacant teacher position somebody's filling in for, sometimes we'll see resource teachers fill in those in that capacity, or even assistant principals or principals we've seen. So that's something that we can definitely help with. And if you want help with it, put in a ticket. Digital backpack troubleshooting for students. The students are clicking on the backpack icon, but nothing is happening. Okay, so again, refresh. If you're in the Chrome browser, if you're using a different browser, you happen to be at home or it's a mistake and you know you're using a different browser, the pop-up blocker can actually stop you from accessing backpacks. So that's something else to try. If you've tried all of those troubleshoots, like you made sure you're in Chrome, you've refreshed 3 times, still having issues, submit a ticket, jcps.me/help. My students clicked to create their folders for the first time, but the screen is blank. We went over this. Refresh, and typically they'll show up. I've seen the refresh on my side fix the issue 100% of the time, okay? If there's still an issue, submit the feedback report. You know, there's that blue button at the bottom. A lot of people have used that. We've seen a lot come through, and I'll show you at the end of the presentation how to do that. But use that button, and that goes to the folks at Amplified IT and to me, so we can all be in there and try to help you troubleshoot that issue. Unable to log out. So you see this cycle, you know, that I was talking about with the last student being on there. That's going to be, we've done a lot to try to fix that issue so it doesn't cache the credentials so heavily. There's a link there to show you how to log out of the Google account, okay? But again, you know, make sure that they're actually signing out of right here. They're doing the sign out, and they're also signing out of Backpack, okay? They can go to the top right-hand corner. There's a little person icon. Click on it, sign out. Make sure that both of those are clicked on. Not showing the correct user in JCPS Backpack. This goes back to, you know, the last person who was logged in. So it's all the same issue, and we're seeing a lot of that. So make sure you're using those sign out labels. All right. A student needs access to their profile on a teacher computer. Okay, so the teacher is logged in to their computer and they say, here, Heather, you can go ahead and log in. Well, you might want to use incognito mode. Better yet, let the student log into your machine with their own credentials, right? Log yourself out, do a sign off, and or switch account, and let that student log in with their own credentials on your machine. That's the best. That you don't want to share a machine with your profile up with a student ever, right? But if it happens and you're running out of time, whatever's happening, you can try that incognito mode. Feedback form, we'll go over that again at the end of the presentation. Some of you may already know what it is. A student is using Internet Explorer and can't open Backpack. I think it was Russ that said, just use Google. So we were in a meeting and he said, just use Google Chrome. And so that's basically what I'm saying here is Google Chrome is the preferred browser, okay? If you're using a different browser, you might need to work with those pop-up windows. You might need to work with credentials a little bit more, but Google Chrome on our domain is what you want to be using. So here's a question that's come up, and some of you may have already seen this, know the answer. If a student adds the same doc slide sheet to multiple Backpack folders, right? So they've artifacted to this one document to 3 different folders. And then they go back to the original and they make a change. Will that change replicate? Yes, it does. To every single place they've artifacted. That's awesome. That is the magic and beauty of how Google works. Okay, moving on to teachers. Some of this we've already gone over. I'm a teacher and I'm clicking on Backpack icon, but nothing's happening. Make sure you're in Chrome. Make sure you refresh. Make sure pop-up blockers aren't getting in the way. We have policy on our domain machines that pop-up blockers should not be an issue. If you're using a personal machine, that may not be the case. You might not have that. So be sure that you're looking for the pop-up blocker, and you'll find that up here in your address bar. So be cognizant of that, and then go ahead and allow it. If you're still having issues after all of that troubleshooting, always submit a ticket. Rosters aren't loading. Refresh. In my policy again, refresh is your friend, try it 3 times. Refresh is your friend, try it 3 times. Just like always accept, never decline when it comes to Google Classrooms. And remember, network connectivity issues. When we have network connection issues, be it here or at home or out, wherever we're using our devices, the network is absolutely crucial for Backpack and Google Drive to function, right? Google, if you're working on docs, you can do some of that offline, but to actually get up to date what's happening in Backpack and you're trying to artifact, you've got to have a good network connection. I'm looking at what this is saying. Teacher isn't seeing Classroom's Backpack. This is typically an IC entry issue. It goes right back to IC because IC is the authority for this. We run that data through an application and provision those classrooms out. So make sure you're checking IC. A lot of the people responsible at your school, a lot of times they're either counselors or school secretaries. They're doing a lot of the scheduling or registrar work. So make sure you're checking with them too, that everything, you're the primary teacher, course IDs are assigned to you. I can't say it enough. You have populated rosters. Those are the main issues. I want to customize folders in backpack and add new. So this question has been posed a few times that, well, we want to add another folder in there. Nope, you can't do that. We want to customize it. We want to name culturally competent citizen something else. Nope, we can't do that. Those are our standards, right? So that they are named that and color coded that, and they are for every single kiddo in the entire district. So those are not customizable by individuals, okay? I'm using Internet Explorer, but I can't open Backpack. We've gone over that, you know, use Google Chrome. All right, so back to our slide. Since we've checked out the Backpack FAQ, and remember that's available to everybody at JCPS, then we'll get that link out again. We went over incognito mode. So reporting issues. If you're on the JCPS Backpack homepage, you'll want to go down to that blue button in the lower right-hand corner that says feedback or report issue. We've gotten some feedback. There are some things out there that people are saying about Backpack, the yays and nays, right? And then there are true issues, and we've had, gosh, I want to say we're probably over 80 at this point of reported issues and feedback. So people are using it. Remember, I mentioned that top to sign out of Backpack. If you're on the Backpack homepage, that top right-hand corner, click on the little person and do a sign out. So remember, report your issues on Backpack there. Now, if you have a Backpack issue that you want me to see, or someone on our IT team here to see, jcps.me/help. Now I see these come through. Amplified and IT and I have permissions to look at that sheet and see what you're saying there. But if you have something really critical, remember, you know, it might be a little redundant, but you can put in an IT ticket, and this takes you to the IT ticketing page, and you click IT ticket, and then in the summary, make sure you put Backpack issue or Google Classroom issue. They're separate issues a lot of the time. So if there's a Backpack issue, like Backpack itself will not, you know, after 3 refreshes, it's not working. You see a blank screen when you log into Backpack. Google Classroom would be separate. You know, Google Classroom rosters don't look right, or, you know, I try to log into Google Classroom and I can't. So there's separate issues. Make sure that you differentiate there. And I think that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and quit presenting, but that's it for me. If there are any questions, I'm not sure. I can't see that. So I don't know, Heather, do you see any questions out there?
No, I just saw a few people. Terry Tate was on there, Kathleen Receiver, and I'll check real quick. I'm running double duty with the principals on this Google Classroom training and also the JCPS Backpack live show. So I'll double check. Is there anything to share, Stephanie?
What's that? I didn't hear you, Heather.
I said, is there anything else that you needed to share, or we check for questions?
No, I don't think so. You know, I think that's about it. I just wanted to make sure that that information got out there and that people know that there is a support page. The FAQ page does exist. It lives out there, and I'm updating that all the time.
Dr. Belcher's on the show, and he said, nice job. This is great information. Terry Tate was there. Kathleen Receiver made a comment about the principals in the room. They're still here working, as you can see, working on Google Classrooms to lead their schools. So, Stephanie, that sounds great. Anything else you want to add?
Not at this time. I think I think we're looking at me coming back to do one in late October about how the provisioning actually works. And so the real techies out there will probably find that interesting, how the whole back end works. But yeah, that'll be our next one.
Awesome, Stephanie. So for the viewers of our show, don't forget you can continue to stay updated at JCPS Backpack hashtag. Also, go to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button, and we will have another live show about the Backpack Q&As coming up real soon, like Stephanie said. So until next time.